Dearest Eva, I think about you all the time. Once I find you and your daughter, then I will kill you both.
Those words and those threats were absolute psychological terrorism. My worst fear was that everything that he said in those letters could become a reality. Oh my God, he found our house, and he was coming.
We are back with Emmy-winning actress Eva LaRue, who is opening up about the 12-year nightmare she and her daughter endured and survived. We were talking before the break. This individual had called Kaya's school pretending to be her father. He was continuing to escalate the violent letters, and then 2 FBI agents who actually worked in catching the Golden State Killer were assigned to your case. And you explained that they were using technology.
They created the technology. Yeah, that didn't exist before. So CODIS is the national database for all law enforcement. It's where anybody who has been charged with rape or murder, they get swabbed, their DNA goes into CODIS. Now that was the only database going for, so I think it's like 90% of these people are already incarcerated and the other 10% or whatever it was are John Doe rape kits that they haven't put a face or a name to the DNA yet. Well, with the advent of 23andMe and Ancestry.com and GEDmatch, suddenly there was new data pools of DNA. And they were the first ones ever to upload this serial killer, the Golden State Killer's DNA, into these databases. And it took them 4 years to get a hit because there still was not enough DNA in those databases. And they finally got a 5th cousin, and that's how they solved that. And mine was the very next case.
And yours was the next case. So it requires DNA sample to go through this system?
Right, but they had all the DNA off of the letters. He had licked the envelopes. He had fingerprints all over it, tons of DNA. But the FBI said to them, because this was not FBI jurisdiction, the Golden State Killer wasn't either. They were doing it as a side thing that they were doing on the weekends just because they were fascinated with why that case had never been solved. So the FBI said, stop messing around. It's not a replicable technology. It's not something you can duplicate. And they said, give us another case. And they picked up my case next. And that's how they proved it was an actual technology.
And so with the genetic genealogy, the name came through, and the individual's name was James David Rogers. The thing about it is that this individual, you never know. You have a child. You don't know. You don't know how.
You're in a prison of your own making.
You're in a prison of your own making.
Because you're the one thinking of all the possible ways he can get you.
Right.
And you're the one trying to stay 4 steps ahead of him getting to you or your child.
And you're also living in the public eye where you might be at an event. You're at a red carpet. So your schedule, where you are. You know, I shared with Eva that when I lived in Illinois, I had one of the first cyber stalking cases in the state, and I moved to New York years later, and I was at Rockefeller Center, and the security guard called, and they said, this man is here. He'd gotten out and come in. The individual in your case has pled guilty. He was sentenced. You had an impact statement, and he is now free.
Yes, ma'am. He only got 3.5 years.
That is the part that just boils inside of me. That is the part that boils. It is unbelievable.
They released him 10 miles from my house. We didn't know in all that time that he hadn't been to California because all of his letters said, I'm watching you, I saw you on this red carpet, I'm following you home from work, all of these different things. So we thought he'd been back and forth from Ohio. We knew the letters were coming from Ohio to California, but we found out later that he'd never been to California. They released him from prison in Los Angeles, not Sacramento or somewhere up north. Right in LA, 10 miles from my house.
And so that's why, and you know, you have put this documentary and you've retold this and you're reliving this and you and your family. And that's the thing, I wish this were this happy ending, and it is in some ways.
That we're okay and thank God we're alive.
But you are still fighting.
We're still.
For not yourself, others.
Right. Well, we know, here's the thing too, because as I said earlier, it's kind of this crimeless crime because it hasn't happened, right? So it's not really law enforcement's fault that they can't act on, because they'll say, did you break into your house? No, not yet. Okay, well, did he lay hands on you? No, not yet. So it hasn't happened yet, but we also know the statistic is 86% of the women that were murdered in the United States last year were stalked first. So we know that stalking escalates. It escalates to rape and it escalates to murder in 86% of the cases. That's crazy. So stalking needs to be its own. If you are terrorizing somebody, that needs to have more stringent laws around it. Immediately. Not if they break in, not if they touch you. It needs to be immediate.
And that's your call to action at this point.
Yes.
What do you want?
13.5 million people are stalked every year, just in the United States. And celebrities are a tiny, minuscule amount of those. Like,
right, this is not a celebrity offense. This is not people getting fixated.
Men, women, and children.
Of all backgrounds.
Mm-hmm, of all backgrounds.
What do you hope comes out of this moment?
Much more stringent sentencing. And a national database where people, because stalking is a mental health issue, as you know, too. He just went to it. And so these people need to, because they do it for one, they do it for the next girlfriend or their next obsession. They move states and they're not tracked. And there needs to be a national database so that we know, and these people are caught right away.
And that is what you're doing. I have to, before we wrap up, and by the way, we will have this information on our website about stalking laws in your state. Go to our show website, TamronHallShow.com. Before I let you go, though, because I have to bring up the fact that you have raised a beautiful 24-year-old young lady.
24 this weekend.
Who
my girl
has survived so much, and I know you are so proud of her, and she is proud of you.
Yeah, it's been this incredible, I mean, we were always close, but going through this and doing the documentary, it has been incredibly, incredibly uber bonding for us, so.
Well, I love you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for sharing
your story.
And
thank you for everything you're doing for others. Eva's documentary is called My Nightmare Stalker. It is streaming now on Paramount. I encourage you to see it. I also ask you to go to our social media for more information. We'll be right back. Oh, thank you.
The Dominic Hotel, proud hotel provider for the Tamron Hall Show, offers spacious luxury accommodations and sweeping city views. Just steps from the studio, savor the day a little longer with relaxing treatments at the Sisley Spa or light bites at El Tacoy.